We appreciate Dawn Staley for hopping on and hanging out with Tyler and Wes and Chris. And I mean, she almost did half of the Gamecock Central takeover hour.
Just about.
Almost.
We got a few questions in there for her, and she was very loud with her answers. We certainly appreciate that. She's a fan of the station. She listened to us all the time, so we certainly appreciate that, and was really cool to because I don't get to go to the press conference or anything like that,
right.
So I've never gotten to talk to Coach Staley, so that was pretty cool to do that for the first time.
Yeah, and one of those things, too, is you like when they're very conversational and talkative.
Sure.
Because, look, a little behind the curtain on our business, there are these things we call clock breakers.
Yes.
Typically, radio goes by a clock. Like, we break at certain times, especially since we're a network now. We have to break at certain times.
Yes.
It's what we do.
I've been doing radio professionally for almost 7-8 years, and I live and die by clocks.
Yeah, even when we're not here, we live and die by clocks. That's what we do. That's our life.
You can't not pay attention to them.
So we have these things called clock breakers. Dawn Staley's a clock breaker.
Absolutely.
Basically, we're supposed to, not to bore you with this, we're supposed to go to a break roughly no later than 15 after the hour. Tyler says to me, are we okay by breaking that? I'm like, who are you talking to? You're talking to Dawn Staley. Of course you can break it. Easy. Break the clock.
So our list is Shane Beamer, Dawn Staley. That's pretty much it.
Shane Beamer, Dawn Staley. Brad Muller.
Oh, of course, Brad Muller.
Duh. Clock breaker. So, yeah, we have a short list right now. Oh, like if you have the President of the United States come on, obviously, or if you got, somebody really famous. Like if we got Taylor Swift, that'd be a clock breaker.
That'd be a fun day.
That would be a good day.
I think our man Colin Taylor would make his return that day.
He'd come back on the radio?
I think he'd come back.
He would come from across the street working for the state and say, no, I'm back. All right, so take from that conversation with Dawn, besides breaking news they're going to play in Vegas to open the year, what else hit you on the head?
Yeah, so what really sticks out to me is this team's just going to be as good next year as it was this year. And, we talked about Malaysia Fulwiley and her emergence of, what she was able to do this year as a true freshman. And, she's a name. And I didn't get a chance to ask Dawn Staley about this. I really wanted to, but we just kind of ran out of time. She thanked Caitlin Clark profusely at the end of the season for what she did for the game of women's basketball, because she was a superstar, had that crossover appeal that a lot of people tuned in to see Caitlin Clark play. Now she's gone off to the WNBA. I wonder who that next superstar is going to be and what exactly qualities you need to have to be Caitlin Clark type of player. I think Malaysia Fulwiley possesses a lot of that. Her name's just not as well known as of right now. And again, it's something that doesn't just happen overnight. It may take halfway through this season or maybe into her third year as a college basketball player to finally get that notoriety that a Caitlin Clark had, but she definitely has the pieces and the ability to be that next superstar for women's college basketball.
I mean, she's got stupid game. We saw it in stretches this year. I mean, she'd come in and there were games, even as a freshman, she would take over for like a 4, 5, 6 minute span. So, as she grows and develops her game and she gets more run, then we're going to see more of those taking over game moments.
And she has that flashiness because the appeal to Caitlin Clark was the entertainment value. To see her make shots from the logo effortlessly, you don't see that a lot in college basketball in general, especially not in women's college basketball. So there was an intrigue from that standpoint. And Malaysia Fulwiley can dazzle you in a number of ways. The behind-the-back thing, just her way of playing is very entertaining, and I feel like that has the ability to hook a lot of people going forward.
Yeah, I mean, she does highlight. She does Sports Center stuff, right?
Yes.
And that draws people because the casual fan loves highlights. That's what we all love. And we're a highlight society now. Like Major League Baseball. I'll go watch the 7.5-minute condensed game of the Braves. That saves me 3 hours.
Sure.
I can go to MLB.com, watch a game in 10 minutes.
Or you can go watch the Rays and Brewers throw hands like they did last night.
I just want the highlights of throwing hands. Give me throwing hands highlights. But that's who we are now. And Malaysia Fulwiley checks a box. She does highlight-type stuff when she's in the game. There's something else, too, about we bring up the Caitlin Clark and how she brought casual fans into the women's game. Who beat Iowa for the national championship?
That'd be South Carolina.
So who got a lot of eyeballs on their program besides Iowa and Caitlin Clark?
South Carolina.
Who could that help in recruiting?
South Carolina.
There you go.
As if they need more help in recruiting.
Exactly. Now, you have been seen by all those casual eyeballs. They weren't watching for you.
Sure.
But it doesn't matter. They were just watching, and they watched you beat the person they were watching. So that only helps in recruiting, visibility of the program, Dawn's visibility, all the stuff involving South Carolina women's basketball now gets another level just because being part of that game against Iowa in the national championship.
Yeah, no,
so,
exciting time, and obviously it's a thrill to be able to cover that program, and hopefully it's not the last time we get Dawn on.
That's really cool. I mean, she walks by here a lot. Why don't we just go
Literally,
outside?
I don't get shell shocked a lot because working in this business, we're around a lot of athletes, celebrities, that kind of stuff, where you don't get that starstruckness. I was doing, I think, filling in for Bill one morning. No, I was in there by myself. I was in there by myself, and I look out the window, and Dawn is walking Champ right by the window, and I'm like, oh my God. That's Dawn Staley. Now, again, she was paying me no attention whatsoever. She was just on her walk. But, one of the true moments where I was legitimately like, oh, my God, that's Dawn Staley.
She looked up and said, oh, my God, that's Tyler Head. She did that, right?
I think I don't know if she knew my name until today, if I'm being honest. And you know what? I'm okay with that.
That's okay. Well, next time we see her walking Champ, somebody just run out and go, hey, you got 5 minutes? Hop on.
That'd be great.
You bring the dog. We don't care.
That'd be great.
We're good. So, seriously, we appreciate Dawn Staley for hopping on with Wes and Chris and Tyler on the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. And if you missed it, we're going to re-rack it at 2. What's trending at 2 will be Dawn Staley, and we'll re-rack Dawn Staley's interview with Tyler, Wes, and Chris that just happened here at 11 a.m. All right, we'll come back in here. Obviously, we got a baseball game tonight, got a baseball team to discuss, and we have a Twitter poll that we want to tie into all this. Where is your brain after winning 2 out of 3 against the number 3 ranked team in the country, top 15 RPI, top 5 strength of schedule? Do you feel good after taking 2 out of 3 from one of the 3 best teams in the SEC? Do you feel better now? Do you think everything is starting to lock in? So we'll get into all that coming back. Also, Craft Beer Card is back. Spend $30 a brewery, 12 craft beer locations, 30 times 12. We did this on our phone, so we know it's right. $360 value, only $79. Just go to 1075thegame.com. Look for the little sweet deals image. Click on it. Go there. Get yourself a Craft Beer Card. Again, $360 value for only $79. We'll come back, talk some Gamecock baseball on the halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, rolling till 3 on the game.
Thank you.
Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head, as we are rolling till 3 here on the game. All right, tonight, 6:15 pregame coverage, 6:30 first pitch, South Carolina, East Tennessee State. And you're like, Terry, tell me about East Tennessee State. Well, we can tell you that they're in Tennessee, and they're in the eastern part of the state of Tennessee. Now, in all seriousness, they are, offensively, they bring it. 324 team batting average, 951 ops, which is on base and slugging. They slug 525 as a team, on base 426 as a team. Offensively, they get it going. They've stole 37 bags in 42 attempts. They are really good offensive baseball team.
I think it'll be a welcome sight to have a team that's not as aggressive on the base path as Kentucky was this past weekend. When was the last time you saw someone steal home?
I know. It doesn't happen that much anymore. Very rare. Kentucky, crazy aggressive on the bases. We talked about that before the series.
Yeah, and East Tennessee, they've stole some bags this year, but not nearly at the clip that Kentucky has.
Kentucky's a whole different. It's almost like old school baseball.
Oh, like
Kentucky.
From a purely neutral standpoint, I enjoyed it because it was a different type of baseball game. But man, it's frustrating to play against.
Get ready. They put the ball in play, and they run the bases.
Yeah.
That's 1970s baseball.
That is classic small ball.
Yeah, and they've been really good at it this year, to their credit. But yeah, stealing home, I was like, see, I remember in Little League when I played Pony League ball.
Yep.
I had a coach who was a guy who played minor league baseball as a pitcher, and then the Pirates and the Reds organization. Then he had some arm problems, and he had to retire. And he was our coach. So he brought a lot of stuff he learned from playing professional baseball. And we used to double steal constantly. And we never got thrown out.
Yeah.
But he taught us how to defend the double steal. 'Cause that's a Little League baseball. You played Little League baseball.
Yeah, totally.
You want to score runs, double steal.
Exactly.
Right? So what we would do, you ready for this? We would, our second baseman and shortstop, let's say the second baseman covered the bag.
Yep.
Well, the shortstop would cut in front of the second baseman, and if they're double steal, if they tried to steal home, the catcher would yell cut, and then the shortstop would run in front of the second baseman, cut it, and throw home.
Right.
We nailed dudes at home plate. They stopped running against us because he brought this whole way to handle the double steal, and the league blew their mind.
I was going to say, when you're going up against Timmy's dad, who works down at the hardware store during the day and then coaches baseball in the evening times, he never thought about that.
And he's the kind of guy that today would go look at YouTube tutorials to be able to coach the team, right? Because he's not a coach. He's just helping out because he loves his kid, right?
Sure.
And you got this guy who did professional baseball. We did all sorts of like pro baseball stuff, and this is Pony League ball.
It is very funny. And look, I was never coached by anybody that ever ever played minor professional league baseball, but it is a crazy difference when you have a coach that actually knows the ins and outs of baseball, how successful your team is, as opposed to just some guy's dad that signed up and decided to be the coach.
He shows up right from the garage, like he's still wearing his gear with his name like Zeke on it, and he's it is different. It really is.
I legitimately had a coach, and me and my dad to this day still talk about this guy that I legitimately do not think to this day understood the rules of baseball. And we sucked. We were awful.
He looks over at you kids. Is it 3 outs? Is it 3 outs in the inning, kids? This guy, he was so good. Like, he taught us how to sell tags.
Really?
And he said, trust me, if you tag a guy, you look at the umpire and you hold your glove up.
You convince him.
You will convince an umpire. If he's unsure, you will convince him the guy's out. And I'm going to tell you, it worked.
Yeah.
Because our infielders, second and third base bags and home plate, we had cell tag practice. I'm not going to lie to you. And it worked like a charm.
But Coach, my mom taught me honesty was the best policy. Forget all that.
Kid, forget that.
We're lying every single time.
Oh, I mean, and I played the outfield. So I mean, they taught us how to round up on ground balls, and we were great at hitting cutoff men and all this other. We were so like fundamentally sound.
Right.
Like we won 2 championships. We weren't the best team on paper.
Oh, sure.
But we were so well coached, man. We were ridiculous. We were like a minor league baseball team, the stuff we were doing.
That's awesome.
I would come in like I played center or left. And if I played left, there were times I backed up the third baseman.
Oh, yeah.
On throws.
Yeah.
I nailed 2 guys at home plate backing up the third baseman on throws. And these kids turn around like, where the hell did that guy come from? I mean, we did so much stuff that 13-year-olds shouldn't be doing on a baseball diamond.
Sure.
The guy was a great coach.
Sure.
Today I hate him, but that's another story. But he was a great coach. So anyway, going back to Kentucky and small ball. East Tennessee State will not do that, but they will pummel you. Like I said, offensively, their OPS is 951. They bring it. They get on base. They slug. They hit for a high average. If you look up and down their lineup, it's littered with guys putting up numbers.
It is. Now, on the other side of the ball, their pitching, particularly in the midweeks, has not been great.
No, it has not.
They have one of the worst staff ERAs in all of college baseball. They average giving up about 8 runs in the midweek. And they've played Tennessee. They've played Virginia Tech. They've played power programs.
They got crushed.
They got smoked in both those games. So you feel pretty good about South Carolina tonight. And look, does winning this game make or break your season? No, but from a momentum standpoint, I brought this up earlier. Go back to a couple weeks ago. They won that game on Sunday against Texas A&M, which, yes, you still lost the series, but winning a game against what is now the best team in the country is still worth something. You won the midweek game against a very good North Carolina team, and then you roll that into winning in Gainesville for the first time in like 12 years. So the midweeks count for something, and when you have a huge series win like you did against Kentucky this weekend, and you have a tough test going on the road, and a quick turnaround, by the way, that's my concern for tonight, is the fatigue factor of playing a midweek and then going out to Como, I'm assuming tomorrow for Friday's series. Winning tonight goes a long way, in my opinion.
Take the over tonight. Take the over tonight.
Yeah. Hey, nobody would be more happy about a run rule game tonight than Coach Kingston.
Well, East Tennessee State's ERA is 6.63, but they also can swing the bat.
Right.
So, see a high-scoring affair tonight. I could see.
At the same time, like, man, you just don't want this to turn to like an exhausting fatigue game where you play for, Saturday's game is like 4 hours long.
Well, this could be that game tonight. The way East Tennessee State scores runs, as bad as their pitching staff is, I mean, and you're going to kind of cobble together your midweek pitching situation if you're South Carolina, because, like you said, on Friday you're starting up your weekend series. It's a series you should win, but again, goofy stuff happens at Como.
Longest road trip of the entire season.
Mm-hmm. And they've been struggling. They've lost 7 of their last 9 SEC games, but still.
You play this game late into the night. There's that fatigue factor, and you do have depth where you can maybe move some guys around to where you're not exhausting some of your key players, but we'll see how Coach Kingston manages that tonight.
Because this is a team that's been out slugging people all year. They're 27-14, 9-6 in league.
They're actually pretty decent in the RPI. They're 51 overall.
Yeah, like I said, they've been, like you said, they've been boat raced in the midweek Virginia Tech crushed them.
Right.
In the midweek. So they've been beaten up by real programs. So it would be great to run rule tonight, put your feet up and then get ready for the weekend. But just back of your head, East Tennessee State, they rake. They can absolutely rake. So we'll see where all that goes tonight. Again, 6:15 we get our coverage started, and 6:30 first pitch. All right, so we did a Twitter poll. Let's grab this baby. Yeah, our Twitter poll up here on my phone at 1075 The Game on Twitter, X, whatever you're calling it. Feel free. About where you feel this baseball team is in the 2024 season after winning 2 out of 3 over Kentucky. Poll question of the day. After taking 2 out of 3 against Kentucky, what do you think the ceiling is for the Gamecock baseball team? Omaha, Super Regional, hosting regional, no clue. This one's pretty close. Super Regional is 32%. Hosting regional is 22%. Omaha is 23%. No clue is 23%. So Omaha and no clue have the same number.
And I get that.
I mean,
there's been so much back and forth with this team. And again, from a national standpoint, this is still one of the best teams in the country. RPI, they're still projected to host a regional, all that kind of stuff. But when we obviously pay attention day in and day out, it does not feel that way.
No.
Because you feel like, especially when you were losing more series than you were winning, through conference play so far, it does not feel like this team is as good as they are built up to be.
You know what they felt like for a while? Just good enough to lose.
Sure.
That's who they were. They were just good enough to lose.
They were right there. I mean, Coach Kingston talked about getting over that hump, and I understand why people were angry hearing that. Because, well, don't talk about it. Just do it. Get over it.
And that's where it got, because you're getting frustrated. You lose a series to a really good team. Yeah, you might have been the aggregate score might have been 14-13, but you still lost the series. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's still one of those, you don't get, there's nothing in the standings for almost wins.
People look at aggregate scores and almost as participation trophies and ribbons. And nobody, especially at a program like this, that has had the success of all successes with national championships and regular trips to Omaha, you haven't been in the Kingston tenure. You don't want to hear about participation ribbons.
Yeah. Oh, you almost won. You almost got here. You almost got there. Well, if that wouldn't happen, even if it's legitimate, it gets to a point where it becomes noise and excuses to a fan base that got really used to trips to Omaha.
Right.
So winning 2 out of 3 against Kentucky, now, is that getting you over the hump? Hopefully, at least that hopefully started you climbing over the hump, right?
Sure.
And we'll see where it goes, but you got to win tonight.
You do.
And then you go win the series at Missouri.
And I thought, were we talking about this with Jay the other day where, we bring up the example of Ole Miss a couple seasons ago where they just caught fire at the right time and rode that all the way to the national championship. Would that be great? Sure. But the standard of this program is higher than that, where you don't just want to be the flavor of the month and getting hot at the right time. You want to consistently be good enough where you go into the postseason knowing you have the ability to go where you want to go.
Yeah, I mean, we saw this last year. If that team stayed healthy last year, that's an Omaha team.
Sure.
With a Noah Hall. And then you had all those injuries with your everyday players, and you were mixing and matching. Cole Messina, God love, was playing third base for a little bit.
And Mahoney was the only weekend starter that stayed the entire season.
Survived. Remember, that was going to be the strength of the team, was Sanders, Mahoney, and Hall on the weekend.
Sanders had his issues. Jersenbeck got hurt. It all went to hell.
But again, that's when the people go like this. Yeah, I don't care. He didn't go to Omaha.
Exactly.
Don't care. It gets like that. It's sort of like me with my girlfriend when, she has this list of stuff for me to do, and I don't do it because I'm too busy watching sports while she's gone. And she comes home, or I know she's coming home soon. I get that text, I'll be home in a half hour. Oh, God, I got to start doing stuff. And I do,
How can I do 4 hours worth of chores in 30 minutes?
Exactly. So there's things I didn't do. So I'm now excuse guy, right? Well, and that stuff works a couple times, but then after a while, it's noise, right? And she goes like this. Oh. Ready? All I know, Terry, is you didn't do the list.
Yeah, so he's just a degenerate like this all the time. Then.
Exactly. So the point is, even though if it might be legit stuff, like last year with the injuries, or the year before, there was a ton of injuries to pitching. Okay, this happens, that happens this year. Well, if you'd have made that play or if that at bat was this, it gets to the point where people go, get to Omaha.
Right.
Just get to Omaha. That's what I care about.
Just shut up and do it.
Yes, just got to get done. Hopefully, the 2 out of 3 over Kentucky is the start of that hill that Coach Kingston talked about they were trying to get over.
Right.
We'll find out starting tonight, 6:15 pre, 6:30 first pitch against East Tennessee State right here on The Game in Columbia and 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. We will come back in here. Pete Thamel from ESPN has some thoughts on House versus the NCAA. We talked a lot about that yesterday. We'll get into that next. Halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head till 3 on The Game. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head. We were cooking this baby up until 3 here on the game. The game app, very simple. Go to either iTunes, Google Play, wherever. Just search 107.5 The Game, download the app, boom. You can listen to us anywhere. Anywhere. 7 continents, find a spot. You can also, Game TV is powered by Integrated Media, sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. You just go to YouTube, Game TV Radio, at the Game TV Radio, and you'll find us there. And you can just sit here and watch and go, wow, those guys really have faces for radio. Well, I thought that was just a joke.
You know, I was skeptical when Integrated Media put the stuff in. Do people really want to see what we look like? I don't know.
I don't think they want to see what we look like as much as they just want to listen to the talk, watch the talking part.
Maybe.
I don't think there's too many people going, wow, I want to see how dreamy those guys are. Don't think so.
Well, the only dreamy person here is Josh.
Well, yeah, we don't even have him on the video.
That's true.
We should. You know what? That's what I should do. Take dreamy Josh's face and Photoshop it on my head, on my neck.
Sure.
That could be dreamy.
We could do one
Terry.
of those AI things.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be Dreamy Terry.
Doesn't roll off the tongue the same way.
Just doesn't. Dreamy Josh is much better. All right, so we talked about this a ton yesterday. The NCAA is negotiating with the attorneys representing the folks from the House versus the NCAA litigation, the lawsuit, which is basically simple. Anybody who has played college athletics
ever
before the NIL laws came down would be eligible to get back pay.
Your grandpa was a backup on the 1967 Oklahoma basketball team. He's eligible.
Guess what? He can get paid. Gramps can get paid. This is billions of dollars. Before it's all said and done, it could be about $4 billion,
yes.
Which basically kills the NCAA.
Oh, yeah.
They're done.
They don't have $4 billion.
And for a lot of people, they're going, so what's bad about that, guys? But so the NCAA, trying to save their butt, is trying to put together a settlement with the folks that represent House in this lawsuit. And we went over a lot of this stuff yesterday of the different directions this could go. Pete Thamel from ESPN talks about basically if the NCAA would be dumb enough to actually walk into a courtroom and fight this, what would happen? We know they'll lose because they always lose. Who are they again?
Glass Joe.
They're Glass Joe. So the NCAA would go in, get beat. Then what would happen if the NCAA actually lost this case?
Billions and billions, Paul. Dan Murphy and I wrote the story on ESPN.com yesterday. The number we used was more than $4 billion. I was cautioned by sources that number is actually conservative. The NCAA's record in lawsuits, Paul, as you know, is similar to your and my record in the World's Strongest Man competition. It's not very good. So they would risk going to a jury, losing again, which has been the case time and time and time again as the NCAA has gone to court. And so what these presidents and leaders have to decide, and it's not an easy decision, is do we put less billions up front and out of it get both a structure for the future of college sports, and here's a key term that's being thrown around, is protections. Those are not set and settled and wouldn't be to the end, but does it say we are protected from future antitrust lawsuits? Not all lawsuits, obviously. They can't have like a shield around them, but do we get a protection from future antitrust lawsuits for 10 years, for a long period of time, that gives this chaotic world of college sports some sort of period of peace, which, quite frankly, Paul, we haven't had the last 2 decades.
Or collectively bargain.
There's that word again.
And come up with a CBA agreement with the players to keep people out of court.
And here's the thing. We don't know all the details of this. And I've had people that have weighed in on the text line that are upset that we were just throwing around the word CBA. It's not that simple. I get that. And we don't know the exact specifics of how this would be done. But it's being talked about enough by enough important people around college football that it is possible. How exactly that's possible, we don't know the exact way. But it is something that is on the horizon and going to happen sooner rather than later. And yes, we can't divulge into all the specifics of it right now, but it's a possible thing to happen.
And we just use collectively bargain because that's the easiest way to describe it.
Yes. Well, is it going to be referred to that? Are these actually going to be called unions? We don't know.
I don't think so. It'll be something else because the last thing they want to do is go full union unless they have no choice.
Sure.
But there's going to be something, I keep saying it all the time, some type of agreement in place between players. universities, conferences, heck, bring in the TV networks because God knows they run the whole thing anyway.
Well, that's where the money comes from.
All these different people are going to have representatives sitting at a table to hammer out an agreement that everybody's going to like enough to sign off on. Players will vote, and when the players vote yes, all this will come together in a bow, and you will have an agreement. Then they'll go down to Agnes, the notary, down the road. Agnes will notarize it. It will become a legally binding document that will keep you out of court. Because now you are no longer breaking antitrust laws every time you breathe.
Well, and that's the thing is, with this litany of lawsuits that are going on, they're going to have to look at all these and say, okay, here's what we learned we can't do now with this one, and this one. They're going to have to lay out all these details like, all right, with your rights as a college athlete, we, the NCAA or whatever, the presiding, entity over college athletics is going to be going forward saying, all right, here's what we can't do. Here's what we cannot hold you back from doing. And again, that list is growing longer and longer, seemingly by the day.
Right. But in return, here's what we want.
Exactly. So, and you need some kind of structure.
Yes.
We don't need this to be, well, we've already seen the Wild West of NIL. We don't need college sports as a whole to be the Wild West. There needs to be some kind of governing entity, whether it be the NCAA or something else that we call it down the road, that presides over the structure of this whole thing. So it's not just everybody doing it for themselves.
And again, and there are people like this. Why can't we just go back to the old way? It's easy. You know why you can't? It's illegal.
Yeah.
9-0. It was voted by the Supreme Court. It's illegal.
And not only that, it's toothpaste out of the tube. Nothing goes backwards in sports.
No. And the other part is, not only was it voted 9-0 by the Supreme Court, another Supreme Court justice was so horrified by what the NCAA has been getting away with, they decided to also write their version of what was going on, and you very rarely get that. And by the way, 6-3 is a thumping at the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
9-0 is like curb stomping.
You can never get people from both sides of the political aisle to agree on what to eat for lunch. But they all agreed on this.
Yes. So nothing goes backwards. Those days are done and over. Now you need some kind of system that makes sense. One more Pete Thamel cut here. Here's what Pete said, that schools, when we talk about Texas A&M doing this, schools are preparing for revenue sharing with their athletes.
But it gives you a target and essentially a cap for you can have this much money to revenue share. And it's essentially like natural selection for schools and how much they want to spend and what level they want to be committed at to annually pay their rosters. Now, they could pay softball. I'm sure at Duke, that would be weighted towards basketball. Similarly at Carolina, Syracuse, places, Kansas, obviously Arizona, places where it's forward. So the fine point details of how that's all chopped up still remains to be seen. But the thought is that there is a percentage of what the average of schools are getting, and then the Alabama, Ohio State, USC, Texas, etc. That crowd can allot for the maximum. We kind of heard Trev Albert say the quiet part out loud the other day. He said in an interview with the College Station paper, basically, I'm now setting $15 to $20 million in my budget going forward, starting in 2025, for revenue share for athletes. Like on some campuses, there's an expectation of some form of this coming. A place like A&M obviously would be invested to the highest level. I would think a vast majority of the now Power Four would be invested that way, but it certainly, I don't think, would be all of them.
We'll get back to this. What Pete Thamel just said. There's two very interesting things Pete Thamel just said. On the other side, we'll get to it. Also, the Firehouse subtext, the hour, 803-404-6100. Again, halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head. We're rolling this sucker till 3 here on The Game in Columbia, Florence, and Myrtle Beach. Time for our Firehouse Sub text of the hour. Then I want a couple thoughts here for what Pete Thamel just said about the schools and revenue sharing. But let's get our Firehouse Sub text of the hour off the text line 803-404-6100. What do you got?
Well, it relates to what we were just talking about there. Jeff weighs in and says the attorneys make millions, former athletes get little to nothing. The schools are the ones that will end up paying. Carolina and other Power 4 schools will be okay, but a lot of schools are going to suffer, and we'll probably see a lot of sports going away. It is important to remember the schools are the NCAA. Like, the NCAA is made up of its member institutions. So, yes, that money will, in a way, end up coming from the schools.
Yeah, and because that's the way this thing's going to get set up now. And, I mean, players will get paid. Maybe not what they're true worth at all, Texter. Because, yeah, the attorneys will get a ton, and the players will get whatever is left after the attorneys get their retainers.
Which, for a lot of them, getting something will be good. But
think about it.
There's certainly some players like Brian Bosworth back in the day. Like, what could his NIL value have been if that was around back then? Like, he would have been in the millions.
The Bos would have made stupid money.
Yeah, so like somebody like him, which again, he's doing fine.
Tim Tebow. Could you see Tim Tebow?
Oh my God, Tim Tebow.
Would have been ridiculous in the NIL space.
Tim Tebow, Johnny Manziel, Bosworth, Reggie Bush, like those guys legitimately probably would have been the top all-time NIL earners.
I mean, you know, on a second level at that time, I mean, remember
Herschel Walker.
I mean, you had Herschel Walker.
George Rogers would have been pretty good.
I mean, there were guys who would have made so much money in the NIL space. It would have been just ridiculous. So, yes, whatever they're going to get isn't what they would have gotten, but they'll get something like we talk about Grandpa Edgar, you know, the backup guard on the '67 Oklahoma State team.
Right.
He's going to get something in his direct deposit. You'll go, hey, how about that? I'll be doggone more denture grip, or whatever it would be.
Better than nothing.
It is, but you know, Texter is correct on the fact the attorneys will get a ton of money.
And we've seen something similar with this with the O'Bannon case that related to the NCAA video game, where they had to give back pay to any former athlete that came forward that was represented in those games without having their name tied to it. And those guys got like 60 cents. You know what I mean? Like it was pennies.
Right. It's like now you know when they talk about what they're doing now with the college football game, and some guys have opted out. I get it; they want to get more dough. And
I think Arch Manning's the only one, the only notable one.
Is that the only notable?
Because we had Hunter Rogers in here yesterday. We asked him like, "You're in?" He's like, "Yeah, the whole team's in."
I would be, and here's why. What you're getting might not sound like a lot to people. Is it better than zero?
Absolutely. And we also have to remember this. And yes, there are certain high-profile guys in the NIL space that make 6 and 7 figures.
Yes.
They are the 1%. A lot of these guys make it a little bit, a couple bucks here and there, but $500, $600 goes a long way for them.
Yes. We talk about this. Sometimes an NIL thing, look, some guys, honestly, if their NIL was they get to go to Waffle House.
Sure.
And they get a $250 gift card to Waffle House. They're going, all right.
I'll take it.
I'm in, baby. I am in. I love that pecan pie. Whatever it is, right?
Sure.
You know, I love my hash browns mashed, smashed, bashed, and crashed or whatever. Most guys, if you even talk to some of those old school athletes who didn't get NIL, a lot of them are like, I just wanted money to go on dates, go out to eat, you know, whatever. I mean, so you're right. 98.792% of these guys, what they're getting for that video game, they're going, oh, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah. When you hear stories of former athletes who are like, well, I was going to go home this weekend, but I don't have $20 for gas to drive back home. It's like, man, what were we doing back then? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was so ridiculous in what the constrictions and restrictions on those athletes. Some of them, you couldn't work a part-time job.
Yeah.
There's so many things you couldn't do back then because, God forbid, you know, the guy at the photo mat might slip you an extra 20.
Well, that's the thing is because as a high-profile athlete, they could deem that you were using your celebrity to make more money. Like if you're a waiter at a restaurant, well, guess what? People are going to want to come see you at your restaurant because you work there, and guess what? You're going to make more money because of that. No. That violates your, rights as a student athlete.
Their thought would be this. Well, Tyler is a high-profile college football player, and if he's working at the restaurant, his tips will probably be a little bit higher than...
Exactly. We can't have that.
No. Hey, here's $1,000. You were the best server I ever had, Tyler.
If you're bagging groceries at Walmart, somebody's going to hand you an extra $5 because you're on the football team. Can't have that.
And so, again, that was all those rules were crazy, and that was their reasoning for it. But what were you doing? Breaking antitrust laws.
We were protecting the student athletes, yes, for making money.
Ready, protecting them from themselves. That's the other one we use. Because no 35, 40-year-old adult is stupid with money at all.
No, not at all.
No, once you get out of college, you're automatically a genius with money.
No 35-year-old's going to be gambling on air hockey at Dave & Buster's now that it's legal, right?
No grown man who would coach a baseball team would do something stupid at a casino or at a betting place to lose his job, because only college kids would be like that dumb.
And no professional athletes that are already making millions and millions of dollars would be dumb enough to risk their careers by petty bets.
No, because they're grown-ups now.
Sure.
You only do that kind of dumb stuff when you're in college.
Right.
Because no one that files for bankruptcy is a grown-up.
Not at all. They totally
Appreciate
didn't make a whole documentary about that.
Thank you for the text. 803-404-6100 is the phone line and text line. We'll come back. I do want to get to this Pete Thamel stuff. Just a couple things riffing off of his thoughts on the revenue sharing with the schools. We're going to get to that next. Football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. That is coming up next. Halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, till 3. Then the postgame show takes over here on The Game. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head, 1 o'clock hour, football, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Here on the Halftime show, sponsored by the Men's Clinic of South Carolina. All right. Want to go back real quick, Tyler, to the Pete Thamel stuff when he was discussing the revenue sharing and how schools are getting ready. Look, what was that last week when Texas A&M punted some staffers, some management staffers?
Yep. Got to clear the way.
And, again, it was said at the time by the new athletic director, basically was, look, this isn't about Jimbo Fisher's contract. That's paid for by rich people.
That's all the oil money.
Yeah, that's no big deal. Somebody opened up their glove compartment and just handed out millions. 2, it isn't about what these people did or didn't do or whatever the case. It's about the future model of college athletics. Then the same new AD went on a podcast. Pete Thamel talked about it, saying, we're getting ready for revenue sharing. That's where all this is going.
And they're not the only ones.
No.
There's, I would venture to say, out of the, 70 Power 4 institutions, probably close to 70 of them are situating themselves to make this work.
Well, there was 2 things out of what Pete Thamel said that were interesting. One is that the universities will pick and choose which programs to give the money to. Like, they will cut up their pie.
Yep.
For an example, Duke, Kansas. No, Kansas is actually, Duke and Kansas will put more money toward basketball than they will football. That's safe to say.
I'll say this, and Kansas football is
it's gotten better.
On the rise under Lance Leipold these past couple of years. They would cut the football program if it meant a midweek, mid-major win in the regular season of basketball.
Let me tell you what. If it came down to the money that's going to go to football, the money that's going to basketball, it's not a conversation.
No.
No offense, Lance. You've done a nice job rebuilding Kansas, but it's a basketball school. Same thing with Duke. And really, same thing with North Carolina.
Yeah.
It's basketball, man. They will take their money and they'll put it toward they'll take their revenue pie and push it toward college basketball before they would football.
Football is what you do until tip-off.
Exactly. The exact opposite of most schools in the SEC.
Exactly.
So that's just reality. I thought that was interesting, though, when you break it down like that. Then you say this, though. If you're Lance Leipold, this does come to fruition. This is a thing. You're going to stay at Kansas?
Probably not.
That would be a no. I mean, Mac Brown might stay because he's 105 years old.
Because guess what? Now recruiting is really going to come down to numbers.
Because you're going to lose.
I am a 5-star athlete. I can go to Alabama and make $100,000, or I can go to Kansas and make $60,000. What am I going to do?
For a lot of guys, that won't be difficult.
No.
So that's a thing on this now. You will lose coaches at schools that would be more looked at as a basketball school than a football school if a football coach is going to get less money to be able to build a program.
It's going to split the tiers within because we talk about the Power 4 now breaking away and doing its own thing, and I think when we do that, we look at them all on this even playing field. They're not. They've never have been, and I think this is going to divide them even more because legitimately how much money you have is going to determine how successful you can be. Because, again, no 5-star is going to go play for Cincinnati knowing they're going to make half the money they would at Ohio State or something like that.
Right. Sure.
So you're going to create this rift within the power schools of the 70 or however many break away and do their own thing to where it's eventually going to become a Tier 1 and Tier 2 within that.
And once you take this, now again, we don't know how this thing's going to be built. What's going to happen to collectives?
I don't know.
Let's just say one of the things we've seen here in the last couple of years, like Ole Miss is a great example of this.
Yep.
Ole Miss is playing in a playground it's never played in before because of the Grove Collective, right? The Grove Collective, for fun, I signed up for the Grove Collective just to get a newsletter.
Did you really?
I'm bombarded with emails from the Grove Collective.
And that's probably what half the phone calls you get now are, right?
My robocalls are the Grove Collective.
Well, hold on. Do you get the generic email from Lane Kiffin? Where,
you get all that.
It shows up in your inbox like Lane Kiffin's emailing me, "Hey, Reb Nation, we really need your support this year." Like, this isn't Lane Kiffin.
It is crazy how much I get bombarded in my email inbox from the Grove Collective.
That's funny.
So the point is, they've tilted the playing field for schools that typically wouldn't be.
Sure.
Like, look at the players Ole Miss has gotten.
Oh yeah, and it's not because of Lane Kiffin as a coach.
It's not his charisma.
He's
right?
a fine coach. It's like, no, we have the money. We can go get a Juice Wells from South Carolina. We can go get a number. Our guy Princely U from Florida. Like, we can go get these high-level guys, because we have the money to back it up now. How sustainable is that? I don't know. They could fall off a cliff next year because the money dries up, because that's the dangerous thing about the system that we have in place, where you're asking your fans to pay the salaries, quote unquote salaries of these guys. That's not sustainable necessarily, because you don't know what the money's going to be year to year.
Well, the other part we saw where it could be going at Memphis with FedEx.
Yeah.
FedEx is writing a check to Memphis now. I mean, again, if I'm in South Carolina, I look for every big business in this state. If I'm the Garnet Trust or the Gamecock folks, and I'm looking to start a business partnership, an NIL partnership with any big entity in this state.
And
that's where I'm going.
I'm surprised it's taken this long for something like that, because I thought when NIL became a thing, that's what I envisioned. I thought, all right, you're going to take local company that's going to become the proud sponsor of Gamecock football. They're going to have a patch on the jersey, and they're going to be responsible for paying everybody on the team a certain amount of money. And to the point, that hasn't happened yet.
No, they went to fans.
Yeah.
Fans, pony up the dough. Be part of the Gold Club, the Premium Club, the Platinum Club, whatever. Well, remember, I think Jay and I were sitting here last year having the conversation, or earlier this year, it all runs together. Why isn't anybody getting the corporate level involved here, the corporate folks?
We've seen corporate from an individual standpoint. We see a lot of individual brand deals, but nobody said, hey, I want to sponsor the whole basketball team.
Yeah, I think that's coming. FedEx has opened the door for this.
I think so.
So the other thing is, how's the collective fit in all this? Because the revenue sharing is going to be a budgetary number deemed by the university.
Yes.
And some will have different levels than others. But to your point, I'm guessing the level at Florida State's going to be better than the level at Wake Forest.
Now, there is a limit to this.
Right.
And again, there's so much of the structure that we don't know how it's going to work, but the belief is that it would be kind of capped at $20 million. So if you're Ohio State, you can't say, well, we're going to put $70 million into this thing.
But the point I'm making is, some schools won't get to $20 million.
Some schools, that's half of their athletic budget. They're not going to be able to do that.
I'm not talking about going over the number.
Yeah, right,
I'm talking about who's going to get to the number besides Ohio State and Alabama and Southern Cal and these other schools.
And I found this from USA Today that kind of details the money breakdown of schools across college sports in general over the past fiscal year. And no surprise, you have schools, and this is just purely the money the athletic departments generate in revenue, like Ohio State, $251 million. They're fine. They can afford the $20 million. But when you go back down a little bit lower on the list, and again, some of these schools are newer to the Power Five, Colorado, $94 million. That's still a lot of money, but when you talk about taking basically 20% of that to try and allocate towards paying your athletes, that's a sizable chunk that I don't know if they're going to be able to adapt to that.
Absolutely. And we talk about this will affect non-revenue generating sports that really don't push the needle. Cross-country team's gone at pick a school.
Right.
Can't keep it around anymore. This other program's gone. And is that unfair? Yes, it is.
And you have to remember, and again, I threw out that $251 million from Ohio State. They have a lot of other expenses every single year, not paying coaches, paying other staff employees, stadiums, renovations, all that kind of stuff, as well as countless number of other things that they have this money for, that now you're taking a sizable chunk to give to the athletes.
Because, again, people always think, well, it's just college football and basketball. No, it's not. It's called an athletic department.
Yeah.
There's a department of a lot of other sports that they are funding because they don't generate revenue. They lose money, matter of fact.
They do.
So it's a balance. But once you make this look, it's been a business. But once it truly becomes a business, what do businesses do, Tyler?
They cut off the fat.
Yeah, because they want to continue to make the money they're making.
They want maximum efficiency.
Yes.
To spend the least amount to make the most.
And sometimes, those guys running cross country, or those guys, we talked about crew or volleyball teams or baseball teams in places where nobody cares. You know what happens to those programs?
They get cut.
They get cut. All right. As we continue to talk about this, Reese Davis was on the Pat McAfee show, and he tried to, ready? He did the Kevin Bacon from Animal House. All is good. All is good. Everything's okay. Here's Reese Davis talking about college football will not lose its soul despite all these changes.
I don't think it's going to lose its soul, D-Bud. It's kind of what I'm saying. I mean, everybody knows it's still going to play, but I think that there will still be the nostalgia, mostly because those 100,000 people that come into those stadiums that we see every week, they treat this like going to the movies. Remember when people said, "Oh, if the players get NIL money, if they get paid, I'm never going to another game. I'm never watching." Well, so what? Guess what happened? They're still filling this. They're still filling the stadium, and they're still watching in record numbers on TV. So they treat this like watching a movie. They suspend disbelief a little bit. And if a guy comes from one school to your school, well, he's your guy then. And so they're okay with it. They're not worried about all of this other stuff. They want to see the great product, which is still on the field, and they want to see the pageantry and the nostalgia and everything that goes with it.
Yeah, I mean, look, do you have a few people who go, I'm never going to watch this ever again, and they don't? Yeah. For the most part, guess what? It's like everything. Baseball strike. I'm never going to another baseball game again. Yeah, you did.
Sure.
NFL walkout. I'm never going to another NFL game. Oh, no, the kneeling. I'm never going to go to an NFL game again. Yeah, you did.
That's what. Ratings never been higher.
Yeah, exactly. Basketball. Oh, they walked out. They locked out. Whatever. I'm never going again. The NHL wiped out an entire season.
I do wonder. I think those people want a pat on the back. It's like, well, I don't like what they did, and I'm never going to watch them again. Good for you, buddy.
Go get them. I'm going to go watch a game.
I'm going to go watch. I'll tell you how it is later.
Well, you won't need your tickets. Can I buy your tickets? Because you're not going.
It's like, was I supposed to care?
Yeah.
Was I supposed to care that you're not going to watch anymore?
For the most part, we fans love the game.
Sure.
We might not love things around the game, things that go into the game, but you know what? When the game comes on, what do? We
watch. And I think that's such a good way to put it, suspension of disbelief.
Yes.
Because when you're in Williams-Brice Stadium watching South Carolina take on Clemson, you're not thinking about NIL. You're not thinking about conference realignment. You're like, I really hope we score a touchdown on this drive. I hope we win this game, beat our rival. Like, all that stuff just vanishes on Saturdays.
Because you know what it is? It's escapist entertainment.
It is.
And we set ourselves up for our weekly dose of escapist entertainment.
Yeah.
And then we can go hate everything about it from Monday to Friday or Sunday to Friday. No, Sunday we'll talk about the game. So from Monday to Friday, we can be mad and aggravated over the way this game has changed, the fact that Southern Cal's in the Big Ten and Rutgers and UCLA are going to play, and it's stupid. And we can do all that stuff, right? And wow, when did they move Stanford to the Atlantic coast? I mean, we can do all that stuff during the week, but when it's time to kick it off or throw up the tip or whatever we're into, we now will go to our escapist entertainment and do what we do, and that's enjoy the games.
Absolutely.
That's what we'll do. But look, it's going to be different up until it's time to play. And then it's the same game that it's been forever.
And like everything else, look at how different college football looks compared to 10 years ago. With realignment, obviously with NIL, we get used to it. It just becomes part of it. And yes, navigating the waters of something that's brand new is scary. And it takes time to adapt, but eventually it just becomes the norm, and you don't talk about it anymore.
You know what it was like watching my dad use his cell phone for the first time?
Yeah, exactly.
It was great. He didn't know. Dad, you flip it open. What? Flip it open, Dad. All right, look down. What's this? It's numbers, Dad.
You're taking a picture of the side of your head, not making a phone call.
Like, Dad, great picture of your nostril. Good work, Dad.
No, Siri's not actually in the phone, okay?
I'm going to shake and see if she comes out. It's like I dream of Jeannie, Dad. No, it's not. But eventually you learn, you adapt, you evolve.
That's right.
That's what happens. All right, we will get back in here. Football in the 1 o'clock hour. I thought a very interesting post from Gamecock Central about the money the new South Carolina Gamecock professional football players will be making. We'll get into that a little bit as well. And you know what? Speaking of money, speaking of Spencer Rattler, speaking of the New Orleans Saints, we're going to get past everything leading up to the name being called. Let's talk about the New Orleans Saints for a minute. Does Spencer Rattler get on the field his first year? Does he get a shot at all? That's coming up. Halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head hanging here till 3 on the game.
So everything we do is for their success. Sometimes that's believable, sometimes it's not. But I think if you judge us off of our body of work, and that's what you have to judge someone off of, not one bad day, not one great day, but the body of work. And our body of work speaks to just really having good people and treating our players with the ultimate respect. And that's it. We've treated people well.
That is Dawn Staley on today, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour with Wes, Chris, and Tyler. If you missed Dawn, she was on about 20 minutes, roughly 18, 20 minutes. If you missed it, we're going to re-rack that for you in the top of 2 o'clock hour. What's Trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. So 2 o'clock, we'll re-rack the Dawn Staley interview from earlier today here on the game in Columbia, Florence, and Myrtle Beach. All right, so we have seen 4 Gamecocks drafted over the 3 days of the NFL draft, Tyler. And you know how much money they're going to get by slot.
Yes.
And Gamecock Central, nice little post put up by Chris Clark. You ever heard of him?
Yeah, I've heard he's pretty famous.
Name's familiar.
He's the Firehouse Subs guy, right?
Yeah. He makes Firehouse Subs. Xavier Legette will... First-round pick, 4-year deal, $12.3 million, $5.8 million signing bonus. So Xavier's life got better.
Oh, yeah.
Financially. Also, you have that 5th-year option because you're a first-round pick. So it could conceivably become a 5-year deal. Spencer Rattler being picked in the 5th round, 4-year contract, $4.35 million, signing bonus, a little bit over $336,000. Marcellus Dial going in the 6th round, $4.23 million, signing bonus about $216,500,000. Nick Gargiulo will get a 4-year deal, $4 million, a little bit over $4 million, signing bonus close to $81,000. So that's the way this thing breaks down.
It is. Think about that. Just make the team, and you're making 7 figures.
Yeah.
That's, which again, we know Legette, Rattler, even Dial. Like Gargiulo is the only one that's maybe a little bit of a question because it's a 7th rounder. But again, you make the team, and you're not set for life necessarily, but you're in a good place.
You're set for now.
Yeah.
Life is good. Life is good. So all 4, and I just want to give you the gauge of even like a 7th rounder. Like you said, even Gargiulo, it's a 4-year deal for $4.1 million. So if you make the team, the money you're projected to get is around $1 million a year. And I think... Oh, look, look, Rattler and Legette obviously are making the team. I think Dial will stick, especially if he can play multiple DB positions and also do special teams. And Gargiulo, because of his versatility, if he can show enough in camp, because they can look at him as like, okay, he can back up center in both guard positions.
Sure.
But you're right. Out of the 4, Gargiulo is probably the most vulnerable.
Sure.
So I just want to give you a little insight there on the whole deal with the South Carolina Gamecocks and how they're projected to be slotted when it comes to their salaries in the NFL. It's all slotting.
Yeah.
It's all slotting with the rookie deals.
Which, quickly, when you talk about like a guy like Rattler falling potentially from the 3rd to the 4th round, that's a lot of money. And it makes a big difference when it comes to signing that initial contract on what he could be making.
Yeah. No, absolutely. The 3rd round money to the 5th round money, that's a fall temporarily. I mean, everybody's playing for their 2nd contract in the NFL.
Sure.
But for the first one, temporarily, you went, ugh. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
All right, and now we talk about Rattler moving forward. What is his situation in New Orleans? We went over the backup quarterbacks there. You got Nathan Peterman. You've got Jake Haener. And there's one more. Oh, help me.
Kellen Mond from
Kellen
A&M.
Mond. So it's not a room filled with intimidation, is what I'm saying.
Even Derek Carr himself.
Yeah.
Not the dominant force of backing up a Peyton Manning.
Right. So the 3 backups, if you're Spencer Rattler, you're like, well, if I handle my business the way I believe I can handle my business, I at some point can move myself into the backup role. Secondly, okay, how does it look with Derek Carr? Everything goes to contract in the NFL.
Yep.
Derek Carr in 2024 is going to have a cap number of $12.668 million. Which you're like, oh, it's not a bad cap hit at all. Dead money, though, on Derek Carr's contract is almost $63 million. So Derek Carr is the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints in 2024, and there's no cap savings at all. So Derek Carr is your quarterback for cap reasons in 2024.
Which, again, he was in his first year of the deal this past year.
Right.
So
and he renegotiated the deal to reset to help out the Saints who are in cap jail.
Right.
So 2024, Derek Carr is your starting quarterback. Here's where it gets interesting. 2025, Derek Carr's cap number is over $51 million, which the more important number is 20% of the cap.
Mm-hmm.
There is no bleeping way in this world that Derek Carr is playing on $51.4 million and sucking up 20% of the cap space in New Orleans in 2025.
No.
It's not happening. Now, the dead money number on Derek Carr in 2025 is $50 million. If you cut him post June 1, you split it over 2 years, it's $25 million a pop.
Right.
Still, that's not dead money you really want to give away, but he sure is not playing with a number of $51.6 million.
Especially if you get to the point where Rattler can be your starter and you're still paying him a rookie contract.
Right. So, something's going to happen going into 2025.
For sure.
Either Derek Carr is going to redo his deal because they don't think anybody's ready to take over for Derek Carr, and Derek Carr played well enough to where you're open to redoing the deal to kick the salary cap can up the road, which, by the way, the Saints are experts. That's all they do. They're always over the cap. So something will happen. Either Carr's number gets redone or they go like this, cut him post June 1, eat $50 million spread over 2 years. Something's going to happen.
Something is going to happen. And again, I think we all have confidence that Rattler could eventually find his way into that starting role. It's an interesting situation with the coach, though. Dennis Allen could have been fired after this past season, and nobody would have been surprised. He goes into this year on the hot seat.
Yep.
Let's say Derek Carr has another not as remarkable year this year. Saints are bad, missed the playoffs. Dennis Allen gets fired. Then you're bringing in a whole new head coach, and there's no telling what the plan for quarterback is at that point in time. So there's a lot of what ifs and unknowns with this New Orleans situation right now.
Dennis Allen, let's take away the Raiders because, look, you could dig up Vince Lombardi and you can't win with when you've got Lloyd Christmas as your owner, you got no hope. All right, so let's just throw the Raider record out the window because he was awful with the Raiders. In New Orleans, 16 and 18, nothing special. Third year as a head coach. Look, he was there when Sean Payton was successful, right?
Yeah.
So the Saints, I get it. We want to keep the Sean Payton culture going. We're going to keep one of Sean Payton's lieutenants for continuity's sake. I get it, right?
He couldn't be a farther cry from Sean Payton.
The total opposite in every way, shape, or form. So they gave Dennis Allen the job for that reason.
Right.
Well, Dennis Allen is doing nothing special to make you think that he is your guy.
Oh, he might be the most forgettable coach in the NFL.
You know, we joke about, Mike Trout is such a great player and a Hall of Famer, and he could walk into a bar and 3 people might know him.
Yeah.
That's 3 more people than we know Dennis Allen.
Unless he's wearing the Saints visor.
Right. Then they'd say, oh, you're a Saints fan? So if Dennis Allen does get fired, here's what that opens up. Derek Carr most likely will not be the quarterback. No matter what the cap numbers say. B, then does that new head coach want to go hunt his own quarterback? Or do you, after surveying what you got, do you like Rattler enough to maybe give him an opportunity? Or do you like him enough to keep him and bring in a placeholder quarterback if you really like Rattler? The whole thing goes unknown.
Yeah, it's the great unknown.
Yes. So that's where Spencer Rattler is. Enough of what happened. We're done with that. Let's talk about the now and the future. That's where Rattler's at with the New Orleans Saints, who, by the way, have been totally allergic to any idea of rebuilding.
Pretty much.
They want to keep going with the idea that, hey, we can get the magic back. We can get the magic back. Every year, they're way over the cap. They got to do all these cap gymnastics. They're hoping that they swing and find a quarterback. Well, and they're just a mediocre team.
I think they look at how dismal the rest of the NFC South is and realizes it doesn't take a lot to win the division. So why would we rebuild now? We're almost there, but they still haven't made the playoffs.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It's like, okay, you win the division and get punked in the first round. That's what you want?
No.
Don't you want to go higher? I don't know. But you're not wrong. All right, we'll get back in here. South Carolina, the portal giveth again at wide receiver. Let's get into that next. It's football. Sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors on the halftime show right here on The Game.
The way things are going, you got to get this ball down the field a little bit more.
Lewis going long, left side. Campbell at midfield. Campbell over the shoulder catch at the 40-yard line. It's a catch, and it's a first down for Nevada at the 39 of the Aztecs. Like manna from heaven, that ball tumbling into the arms of Delvon Campbell, and he hangs on.
That is courtesy of Wolfpack Radio, Learfield Radio Network. Delvon Campbell with one of the few big catches downfield all year for the Nevada Wolfpack passing game.
And they weren't the most dynamic offense.
No, they weren't. Matter of fact, ready? Here are the passing numbers via Pro Football Focus for the Nevada Wolfpack last year. Completed 55% of their passes. Really good if it's 1972.
Sure.
6 TDs, 12 picks.
Not great.
No.
Well, he had 33% of their receiving touchdowns. 445
dropbacks. Only 343 passing attempts. Brendan Lewis got the most run, and he struggled. They all struggled.
Their collective quarterbacks of Brendan Lewis, A.J. Bianco, and Shane Illingworth were sacked a total of 41 times. Tell me that offensive line wasn't too great.
Yeah, so Delvon Campbell last year, and look at the Pro Football Focus numbers again. I'm looking at the receiving direction stats because his regular stats, his just on the surface stats, I mean, there's some solid, especially when you look at the passing game.
Yeah.
His stats were solid.
Yeah.
If you break it down, because we're looking at Campbell as a guy 6'4", over 200 pounds, hopefully that massive catch radius, down the field, jump ball, contested catch guy, right?
Right.
So balls 20-plus yards last year. Campbell, there were a total of 26. Caught 8 of those balls, according to the receiving depth breakdown. 12 of them were contested catch throws. Campbell caught 4 of them. Like you said, basically was the touchdown machine for Nevada. And just a team that struggled throwing the ball. Campbell, he did some things in the context of a bad passing offense.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at his numbers, keep that in mind. This passing game struggled a lot.
It did.
And, he had, let's see, percentage of throws, 45%, deep total number of, he had 57 targets. 26, according to Pro Football Focus, were 20-plus yards. 17.5 was 10.19 yards. Only had 5.3 behind the line of scrimmage. He wasn't like a yak yard guy.
No.
He was more of a throw the ball down the field to type of player. And if you look at the receiving numbers overall, his receiving grade was solid when you look at what they did as a passing offense.
Especially for the down the field stuff.
Yeah, for guys who actually played, he had the best overall receiving numbers on the team.
Yeah.
And he only dropped 2 balls all year. So it seems like you throw it to him, he catches it.
And he's somebody, when you look at where he lined up, and the majority of it is out wide at that X spot. Did play a little bit slot, also put him in the backfield some too. He had only 1 carry on the season, so he wasn't a dynamic part of the run game, but at least had the athletic versatility to be a decoy in those spots, if nothing else. And he's somebody that I'm sure Dow Loggins already has a plan in place for how he's going to use him, but he addresses the need that we talked about for Carolina going into the spring. You got to have a dynamic, proven guy out at your wide out spot. That, again, we hope Nick Harbor is going to be the superstar that we expect him to be, but you don't know that for sure.
Right.
Especially with him not having spring practice, how far behind is he going to be compared to these other guys? We don't know. You have a guy that's played college football for 3 years between Illinois and Nevada. Yes, he was not in the most dynamic offense, but he's played, and he's had production.
2 important numbers for Delvon Campbell. A, average depth of target, 19.9 yards.
Mm-hmm.
That means throwing the ball down the field to him. If you look at some of the other depths of targets on the guys that are in the receiving room, you'll see under 10 yards depth of target because there are a lot of yak guys.
Right.
Again, Campbell, 19.9 yards depth of target. 2, lined up wide 91.4% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So the 2 things we talk about,
exactly.
There it goes with Delvon Campbell. The other transfer portal addition, very interesting. Vandravius Jacobs only caught 3 balls all year.
In garbage time.
Yeah, but a lot of people think he has a high ceiling, a lot of ability. There's a quote from Gamecock Central in here from Mike Norvell about the potential and talent of Jacobs. He just didn't get on the field.
Yeah. Well, and last year was his true freshman season. And he redshirted.
Yep.
So he only played in 3 games, so he still preserves 4 years of eligibility. But 4-star kid coming out of high school down there in Florida. Again, 6 foot, about 175 pounds. Very much in line with, Laura Vidane and Huggins Bruce and Jared Brown, guys you've already brought in the transfer portal. Where he shakes out this year, I don't know, but and it's no guarantee these days with the transfer portal. If he sticks around, that might be somebody that you're getting more production out of later on than right away.
Yes. So now the receiver room's full. Now you're ready to rock and roll. You shake it, see what falls out.
And you got a lot of competition.
Tons of competition. Tons of depth. You have guys who in other programs were productive or showed you enough to think they can be productive at South Carolina. You got some holdovers. You've got a freshman in here that we've been talking about a ton. So you got a lot of possibilities at wide receiver for this football team. That should shut the door on all that, though. These 2 transfer portal additions yesterday.
It should.
So now, are you going to see an offensive tackle? Are you going to see a DB?
Here's the thing, and Gamecock Central does a good job keeping up with this. I think they still have one more scholarship to give.
I think you're correct.
Don't quote me on that. I believe so. And again, they did such a good job in the wintertime, added depth to just about every single spot that needed it. So we're not sitting here saying, oh, my God, if they don't get another offensive lineman, they're in so much trouble. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I even said this a couple weeks ago. Even if they didn't get any wide receivers from the portal, you still would have felt pretty decent about the room going into this fall. Now you've added that size with Campbell, you feel even better about it. So there's nothing that you're like, oh my God, if they don't get this, they're in for a rough season. Like, they've got depth pretty much everywhere and experience pretty much everywhere. But if you can add somebody else just to bolster maybe the offensive line room or another defensive back, that's gravy.
See, I'd love to see him get a DB. I'd love to see a guy, just an experienced DB who has shown he's had success, just to have it, just in case. Because look, obviously the Gamecocks love their young corners, but just in case nobody can pop the way you hope they'll pop.
Right.
You'd have a nice little safety net sitting there with an experienced guy who's had run. But besides that, they don't get another offensive lineman. They got a ton of offensive linemen. So. And Shane just says, look, if you just go by pure numbers, what you need, we might need another one. But it's not like you're so concerned now. Like last year, there was concern because you didn't have the depth.
Sure.
And when guys got hurt, you had to look at Tree and Ball and go, remember, we were hoping we could redshirt you guys? Guess what? You're playing.
It was so glaringly bad. It got to the point they didn't have a backup offensive line in practice.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
That's where it was
now,
last
again,
year.
You've got enough for 3 deep right now, and knock on wood, we don't deal with the same injury issues, but when you've been scared like you were last season, you never know.
Now, you were going door to door. Anybody here play offensive line like Pop Warner?
Our guy Ian upstairs, I looked at him, I was like, hey, man.
You got any eligibility?
Really left?
Ready.
Beamer's going to need you.
Bring a Toledo weight scale. Ian, jump on there real quick, will you? Okay. Let's go over here and see Coach Beamer.
Right.
All right. Just picturing Ian. His Gamecock gear.
Think he has that SEC nastiness?
I think so.
You think so?
I think he's got a little bit of something going. Got a little edge.
I think he might be too nice of a guy.
Yeah, until you put the pads on him. And we really don't know his background.
We don't. That's true. We just know him in an office setting.
You know what you do? Go into those websites you can look up felonies.
Yeah.
See if he's got any felonies. We might find something on Ian we didn't know.
I'll do that later and let you know the results.
Yes. All right, we have Gamecock baseball tonight. 6:15 pre, 6:30 first pitch against East Tennessee State. Hurry up and go to 1075thegame.com. Look at the little media reel flippy thingy. When you see the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway, click on that sucker. Fill out the little entry form. Click submit. If a Gamecock hits a home run with the bases loaded, which is obviously called a Grand Slam tonight, you could possibly win $1,075.
1075.
How about that?
Jen
that. Pointed that out to Gunner this morning, and Bill right over his head.
It blew his mind.
He didn't get it. Woo! And then Bill said, oh, those are the call letters. Jen went, no, Bill, that's the frequency.
Well, we don't know if Bill can count that high.
So go fill it out. If a Gamecock does hit a Grand Slam, the next weekday morning at 7:30 on the early game, we'll pull a winner, and you could win over $1,000 from the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway. Get back in here. Firehouse Sub text the hour 803-404-6100. That's next on the halftime show right here on the Game. Time to hit our Firehouse Sub text of the hour at 803-404-6100. What do you got there, Tyler?
All right, so going back to our conversation about former athletes and what their NIL value would be, got a couple different people weighing in. Bryce says, imagine what Bo Jackson could have made. Woo! Joey says, Clowney and that one hit, what he could have made off that.
No doubt.
And then Garcia would have been paid from the beer companies. I think he would have happily accepted that.
Oh, he would have turned that down. No way.
Now not a whole lot of college athletes are over 21, but I don't recall seeing any embracing or promoting any alcoholic stuff. I don't know if there's any provisions against that.
There's provisions against it in the NIL. That's why you don't see it.
That's what I thought.
Well, there'll be a long line. I'm in.
For sure.
I'm in. Well, the 21-year-old version of me would be like, yeah.
You don't think Natty Light would have a roster of college football players or basketball players to promote their product?
Absolutely. You know how much Natty Light's been knocked down in football dorms and apartments? And
Hey,
absolutely.
I've been in college, and I was like, well, this is just water.
I mean, it was like it's like Busch beer. Like when I was growing up, Busch beer had like a 0.5% alcohol. You could drink like 35 Busch beers. It's like a wine cooler. It was like nothing. It was nothing. So I thought, Vince Young came to my mind too.
Vince Young, that's not.
The Vince Young moment.
We're just kind of going off the top of our heads here, but there's a long list.
Bo Jackson's phenomenal.
Bo Jackson's phenomenal. I mean, once he finally got to the league and, the Bo knows and all that kind of stuff, that could have started years earlier.
Deion.
Oh, my God.
Think about what Deion would have done in the NIL space.
Deion, because of his personality, might have ended up being the most marketable player if NIL was around back then.
No doubt. Think about Deion even back then. I mean, if you see some of the videos of Deion at Florida State, Deion off the field. I'm not talking about Deion on the field because obviously he was ridiculous on the field.
Here's the thing. As a coach, his personality is resonating well enough. His sons are getting NIL deals. Like they have one of those phone commercials a while back. Like his sons don't have half of his personality, but just because they're his sons, they get their own NIL deal.
Well, it was funny. They were in all the... Remember when Deion popped and Colorado was good for the first month?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Deion commercials were everywhere. It was the family, the kids.
Oh, yeah.
Aunt Mabel was in a commercial, the dog.
Yeah. They had like KFC commercial or something like that.
It was the whole family.
The phone thing, Amazon, something like that. Like, yeah, everybody's involved.
Yeah, so that's Deion the dad and Deion the coach. Deion the player back at Florida State.
Oh, my God.
Would have been... Think about the money that Florida State and Miami, in the heyday of those programs.
You think the U was nasty just in general? Imagine it. Well, they probably were paying the players, for being honest. But imagine if they were legally allowed to do it.
Yeah. Remember our boy Evan was just, he was making it rain all over that campus at Miami.
Yeah.
So think about legal NIL for the U in the legendary era of the U and at Florida State under Bowden.
The 2001 Miami team is often regarded as the greatest pure college football team ever. You can debate that. It's just one of the ones that gets mentioned. But the star power they had on that team, that might have been the most valuable overall team of NIL, just on what each individual player could have made.
Between that team and the Southern Cal team with Leinart and Bush and all those dudes.
Yeah.
Those are probably the two highest profile type. And, of course, one's in L.A. Remember, at that point, there was no NFL team in Los Angeles.
I mean, so Will Ferrell was at practice every other day.
The pro team in L.A. for football was Southern Cal back in the Pete Carroll era.
Exactly.
So think how much money all those guys would have made.
Yeah.
I mean, there's backup like offensive linemen dating like Hollywood actresses at the time at Southern Cal.
It was a good time to be a Trojan.
It was crazy. So I think that team and that Miami, that early New Millennium U team would have probably broken the bank on NIL. There's no doubt. Like I'm just sitting here now and you're trying to run through the Rolodex real quick while we're on the air of like great players and what they could have got. And how about Jason White? Yeah. I just made that up. Remember he won the Heisman? People forget Jason White won the Heisman at Oklahoma.
One of the more forgettable ones, right up there with like Troy Smith at Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean those. But I'll flip another one. Just hit me, Charlie Ward.
Charlie Ward,
two-sport athlete, played obviously, had a long NBA career, but was a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. Florida State won the national championship with Ward as the quarterback.
Let's go recent. Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
I mean, he dipped before the NIL era became a thing. Like, what could he have made?
That's a good point.
Now, here's the thing. He did not become Joe Burrow until his final year at LSU. So it's not like it was 4 years of sustained success. But, man, that miracle year that they had.
Once that train started is what you're saying.
Started, oh, my goodness. There's no telling.
Because he became Joe Burrow.
He became Joe Cool, Joe Shiesty.
Oh, yeah. How funny how the NFL, like when that run when Cincinnati went to the Super Bowl, that was that Burrow's third year in the league? Or second year in the league? Because first year, his knee got snapped in half.
Yep.
All of a sudden, they picked up what was going on in Baton Rouge.
I know.
When I look at him, like he looks really cool, and he wears his cool shades, and look at his hair.
He looks like every evil jock in an 80s high school movie.
Right. We appreciate the text. Those are really good. 803-404-6100. Re-racking Dawn Staley next here on the Halftime Show on the Game. Halftime show with Terry Ford and Tyler Head, 2 o'clock, which means What's Trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. You buy any Gamecock gear from Gamecock Traditions, a portion of it goes to the Garnet Trust. NIL partner with the Garnet Trust is Gamecock Traditions. All right, Dawn Staley was hanging out earlier today with Wes and Chris and Tyler on Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. Hung out almost 20 minutes roughly with you guys. And I'll let you intro this. Just in case you missed Dawn, we're going to re-rack it for you right now. Go for it, Tyler.
Yeah, we talked about a number of things. We'll get started right here. Wes asking Dawn Staley about, this past season and just the buy-in that she had to get from her team en route to the national championship.
I wanted to talk a little bit about your team and just the buy-in from your girls as a whole. The fact that that there seems to be a willingness within your group of players to give a little bit on the personal end for the better of the team, obviously, and that allowed y'all to build depth and obviously accomplish the ultimate goal this year. What is it about this group, and how do you continue doing that moving forward now that the title is in the bag and you go for another one? What can you say about these girls and how they've just been able to make everything about the team?
Obviously it takes just communicating with them, really directly and consistently. And you have to do it not only to them, you got to do it to their parents, you got to do it to their trainers. You have to do it to everybody that really has or who plays an integral role in their lives. Because, a lot of them only see them. A lot of their supporters only see them, and they only see their contributions. And they don't really they do worry about other people if they're playing ahead of them or they think they're better than them. So you have to explain to them that what their personal standard is, like their personal daily standard. And that's the only competition that you really need to be worried about. It's you. And if you play to your standard and everybody plays to their standard, then we got a big issue, because I'll have an issue as to who I play, when, and where. But if you let yourself down, then you leave room for somebody else who's playing at their standard. You let them in on it. And it's just that. I know it sounds very simple, but it is simple when you explain yourself that way, and when your players really have that buy-in. Like you have someone like I'll say Sanaya Fagan, who I love to death. Like she's the ultimate teammate, but she's also a young person that really understands when she hasn't lived up to her standard. And you see her playing time fluctuates. It didn't, once it reached the point probably midway through the season, she started just blocking everything out and just playing to her standard. And she played an impactful, integral role on our run to the championship. Like I could count on her. Like I could trust her. And she built that through practice. And then she built that through the playing time that she did get. And then she got extended playing time. And then she started one game. Like it's not, I only have my word. I only have my word with our players, and I try to stick to that as closely as possible. And if I don't, then I'm explaining why. So I'm fortunate. I'm blessed. I really am. Like every coach doesn't have the luxury that we have. Does it come with some heartache? Yes. It's hard to not play somebody that's talented, but not so much if they're missing class, or if they're not communicating, or if they're not playing to their standard. It becomes easy, and they really understand that. It was, I do think at times basketball repays you. It does. If you're in it for the right reasons, you'll take some losses that you don't anticipate, i.e. last year. And then you get some wins that you don't anticipate. And for this team, I just, when I reflect on where we started from, in June, and then you take June, July, we were afraid to allow them to go home, because somehow the school, like our our schedule is set up now that they get 3 weeks off in between the last summer session and when we start back in the fall. And it's never been that. It's been about 10 days for the most part, but now it's 3 weeks. So everything that we built, and then we had to build it from the ground up because they did not come in shape as a whole. And so I'm thinking we're going to have to start back over in August. And then they came in back in pretty decent shape. And then you don't really know how good you are because you're really so close to the situation. And we again, looked up on having a really good highlighter, our male practice squad. So you really couldn't gauge how good we were until the first game. And then you didn't want to believe how good we were because what you had been through since June. And then I just thought Paris was the game in which our team, not necessarily our coaches, I would just say the players, really found how good they could be. And then from that game on, they just started holding each other accountable. Like their competitive spirit came out in a number of different ways and through a number of different players. Like Ashlyn found her voice and her leadership voice, but it came through just being competitive and not wanting to lose. And each and every person took a turn in leading our group. The things that they said to each other, the accountability they held each other to. I mean, it was really beautiful. Because usually we have to do some life skill stuff, and we did do some of that. Like one of our former players, Markeisha Grant, has a life skills business, so we wanted to give her some business while also just getting this team to get together, once a month. And it was nothing like dynamic. It was more like they did some like number painting and and they had fun. Like I think they're going to be bored with it, and I'm just trying to give Markeisha an opportunity to work with our team because she's done some great things in the community. So we wanted to allow her to bless us with her skill work and hopefully the team can get a little tighter with it. And with every session of hers, with every game of ours, they just found a way to like each other, to love each other, and it was organic. It happened just like organic, and there's nothing that you could take from that. When chemistry is built from an organic place and a genuine place, you just really ride the wave as coaches.
Coach Dawn Staley joining us here on the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Coach, I want to kind of take a 10,000-foot view of the program now. You've been here since 2008, and when you came in here, the expectation was to win and have a lot of success. But 3 national championships later, you capping it off with an undefeated season this year, you sent countless women to the WNBA, and they've had tons of success in that realm. Could you have even foreseen back in 2008 what you would eventually build this program into today?
No, I really, like my cup runneth over when it comes to the success that we've had. Although you work for it, you really, we put in a lot of work for the type of success that we've had, but everybody does. A lot of people work really hard and they don't get one. We're very fortunate to get 3. And you have to, again, reflect on the type of players, the type of parents, the type of fams, the type of administrators. Like we can't be as successful as we've been without the help from like all those entities, because you can actually, as administrators, you can do some things that will damper your workplace. And you can damper the spirit of people who are in the workplace. You can have fans who, think we are. I mean, they can pick apart our flaws. They cannot like the makeup of our team and not show us the love that they've given us. I mean, we've had great players come in, great players go, and although sometimes, you know, that leaves people to put a dark cloud over our program, but we've been able to survive it. And we've been able to survive it because ultimately I just want, and not just me, but our coaching staff, we just want young people to be successful. So everything we do is for their success. Sometimes that's believable, sometimes it's not. But I think if you judge us off of our body of work, and that's what you have to judge someone off of. Not one bad day, not one great day, but the body of work. And our body of work speaks to just really having good people and treating our players with the ultimate respect. And that's it. We've treated people well.
Coach, you talked about sort of your players having to try to live up to their own personal standards, and I wanted to talk real quickly about somebody in particular, Mylesia Fulwiley. You've called her in the past a generational talent. From my eyes, I mean, I don't know if there's a limit to her upside, but when you look at her kind of, I guess, personal standard, what is the next step for Fulwiley as you challenge her going into this offseason? And just how high is her upside as far as what she could be capable of doing when she puts it all together?
You know, Mylesia is pretty smart, like truly. Like, she knows herself. Well, if we have to, again, reflect on her freshman year, she had a short wick, meaning she could go about 3 times up and down, and she's done. Like, it's over. She's trying, but I think conditioning is a big part of what her next part of her journey is. I do think she, and I try to tell Mylesia this all the time, because she plays for the highlights, you know, because she's very creative. She's very gifted. She can do things that no other female that I've seen have ever done, female or male, for that sake. But she plays to that. She plays to the crowd, and she wants to, you know, give them something exciting every time down. And so I'm trying to get her to play in between those moments, because that's when most of the game is being played. It is. So once she's able to master what's in between those highlighted plays, we'll create more highlights. We'll create more like not just creative highlights, but fundamental basketball highlights. And that is beautiful basketball. Like it is. Like I thought she grew. Like if you ask her, you know, I always ask her, like, what were you thinking in this play? It could be a turnover, it could be a shot. Like one time, she started off a game where she was just passing. She was just doing a great job at just making the defense forget about her. And then she took probably a 4-shot, right? So, you know, you take a 4-shot, you're going to hear all of our coaches say, you know, make the extra pass. So she comes out of the game, and she heard us saying, you know, make the extra pass. And I asked her, what was she thinking? So she says, I had been passing the entire half. So the defense more than likely thought I was going to pass. So I thought it was best to take the shot. Hey, I mean, that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. I mean, so I was like, okay, that makes sense. Cool. It is that. Like, she understands what she's doing out there on the floor. And I think sometimes as a freshman, you know, you think she just isn't thinking about that she doesn't have that much depth about the game, when she really does. And, you know, for her, you know, and I'll give you guys, because I try to be as transparent as possible and not give up too much information about, you know, what they want to do personally. Like, I ask her, like, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do? What are your plans for next year? What are some of the things that you want to get better at? And she said, you know what? She said, when I came in, I just kind of just wanted to fit in and just get the information that I needed. So I didn't really challenge to be a starter. So I was like, okay, so you gonna challenge to be a starter? She was like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna challenge myself, and I'm gonna challenge my teammates to be a starter. And that's pretty mature. I mean, that's the way you actually just, if you look at how she came in, she was feeling things out, and now she's gonna take it to the next level. And once she does, she's gonna make us a better team. If she's a starter, that means she beat somebody out. Although every year we start over. So although we know that who we started last year, they should start again. They should start again this year if they don't get beat out. So I'm just looking forward to just everyone being more competitive, everyone working on their games this summer, so we could come in and just be more lean as a team and not just defend. We don't want to defend our national championship trophy. Okay, we want to work towards getting another one. Like, I know that's going to be the narrative for us, is the defending national champions, and that's cool because we are, but we can't rely on that team and that experience to dictate how we operate in this space in the upcoming season.
Speaking of that season, Coach, have you, I guess, and I don't know exactly what time of the year this kind of all takes place, but have you been putting together all the pieces for the schedule next year? Any little hints you can give us on possible big names being added? How does all that work?
Scheduling is really hard. It's really hard because people don't want to play us. They don't. I mean, they don't. Like, I mean, and I mean, really good teams don't want to play us. And I don't get it. I really don't get it because people don't realize that it doesn't hurt you to play us. It only helps you. We all have a great net to start the season. It only helps you. Even if you lose, it helps you. So it's not to say I want people to play us and think they're going to lose, because you shouldn't. Like we play UConn. You know, we kept playing UConn for the past, 10 years. I mean, for the first 60% of us playing, we lost by 30 points. So by us continuing to play them, we figure some stuff out. You figure it out. You figure out what you need to do in order to compete and win against who I thought was the best team in this decade. You have to just do it. And one game doesn't matter, but one game is great for our game. Like, I'm glad that the SEC is doing the SEC-ACC challenge. We'll get a good game. We'll get a great game that was very difficult for us to schedule throughout the year. Who we play, we're going to I don't know if I should say this, but we'll open the season in Vegas playing an opponent that is fluctuating because the opponent we were supposed to play is not going to play us anymore for one reason or another. So it's hard for us to say. We'll play in Vegas though. I'll give our listeners that much. Okay. So we'll hopefully get a big plane and take some fans and some donors and make it a great trip for everybody. Hopefully you'll be responsible and not gamble away, all your funds, but we'll go to Vegas. So where else will we go? We're not even finished our schedule yet. We got the ACC SEC challenge. I don't know who we'll play, but more than likely we'll play one of the top teams in the ACC. UConn comes back to us again because we went to them twice prior to them coming to us this year. We have to go to UCLA. So I think that'll be a big game for us. I don't know. We'll probably have some more big ones, but we got to sign the contract.
All right, there's Dawn Staley on earlier today with Chris West and Tyler on Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. And in case you missed it, we wanted you to get an opportunity to hear what Dawn had to say earlier today here on the game. I will spin back, finish up what's trending at 2 quickly. Crazy night at Madison Square Garden in the NBA. Crazier night between the Brewers and the Rays. I'm not going to say fisticuffs because you have to close your fist and swing your fist. How about open-handed slapping?
It was a good lick. I'll say that
fun.
much.
It was a fun little.
I like
deal.
when fights are actually fights. I don't like these shoving matches.
No, if you're gonna raise hands, raise hands.
Let's do it.
All right, so we'll come back, finish up what's trending at 2. Sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. Next on the halftime show on the game. Let's jump right into it real quick. What's trending at 2, finish it up here, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. Last night, Madison Square Garden, look, this series has been whacked. I mean, both sides. I mean, Sixers went in Game 2. Knicks went last night in Game 5. New York had a 6-point lead with 28 seconds left last night. Tyrese Maxey went wild in the fourth quarter, ended up with 46 points. Joel Embiid had a triple-double and also almost had 10 turnovers, by the way. Maxey, though, forces overtime with this shot from the logo. This was crazy.
10 seconds left in Game 5. Maxey fires! He's got it! Tie game!
So Maxey hits the 3 to tie. But let's also give Nicholas Batum some love. Defensively, Batum stepped up late in that game. Embiid had a couple of big defensive plays. Again, Knicks should not have lost. You have a 6-point lead under 30 seconds left. You have no excuse to lose. But, Tyler, here's the play. Now, look, a lot of plays lost the Knicks the game, but this one is near the top. When up 6, Tyrese Maxey pulls up for a 3, and this happens.
Trying to get to the finish line and wrap up this series. Maxey floats it up and in, plus the foul. Toe was on the line.
Toe was not on the line.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, okay, God love Mitchell Robinson, the Knicks big man. I get it. You want to play D. You want to contest. You're up 6.
Sure.
Why are you going anywhere near Tyrese Maxey?
I don't know. Back off.
If you want to wave your hands or, I don't know, pull my finger, make a noise, but don't go near Tyrese Maxey.
I was going to say, even the waving the hands is dangerous because you're at least inviting the opportunity for contact.
But I mean, don't go near him and wave your hands.
Yeah,
Don't go anywhere near Tyrese Maxey. If Maxey makes that, it's a 3-point game, around, 20-ish seconds left.
Yeah, roughly.
That was gigantic. Don't go near him. Don't go near him.
Which, by the way, the onions to shoot a half quarter with 10 seconds left.
I mean, he had onions the entire fourth quarter. Maxey went crazy. Embiid's still nowhere near 100%. He's even got the Bell palsy thing. I mean, Embiid, it's crazy what's going on with Embiid. But Maxey was unreal. And so was Brunson, by the way, for the Knicks in a losing cause. Brunson was really good, too. All right, let's move to the last thing. We had hands going in the Rays-Brewers game last night.
On the ground, first base, Hoskins flips to Uribe. 1 up, 1 down. Siri retired. Uribe and Siri exchanging some words, and here we go. Oh boy, that's not what you want to see. And here we go. Bullpen's empty. Abner Uribe, as soon as he got to first base, Siri kept going.
It was a thing last night. There's suspensions. Let's see, the manager for the Brewers, Pat Murphy, Siri of the Rays, obviously Uribe took the swing to stuff. It was interesting because it wasn't just everybody ran out of the bullpen and stand around and talk to each other. Dudes were throwing haymakers.
There were punches thrown, which I sincerely appreciate because that is an actual fight.
I mean, it was slap fight. It was craziness. So that's what's trending at 2 here on the game, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. Greatest day in the history of the world next here on the halftime show on the game. Oh, it's May 1st, the greatest day in the history of the world, sponsored by 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
Oh, man, I should have gotten the Justin Timberlake thing ready. Oh, I didn't think about that. That's on me.
We should just start over. Go back, play some commercials, and we'll just start over.
Well, I can do my impression.
Go for it.
It's gonna be May. There you go.
If I close my eyes, Justin Timberlake is in the studio with me.
We're practically brothers, right?
Unbelievable.
I was a big NSYNC fan back in the day.
Did I tell you my oldest kid, when he was a teenager, looked just like Justin Timberlake, had his hair piled like Timberlake and everything?
Okay. Yeah, the ramen noodle hair.
Yeah, 1 year I'll never forget, we were at a movie theater, and these girls were like looking at him and pointing and looking at him and whispering, and so my kid went to go sit. He was like 16. He went into the theater, and they came over to me like, excuse me real quick, is that Justin Timberlake? And I went, absolutely.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
If they ask, yes, you are. Every time. Let them figure it out on their own time.
And I told him, and he looked at me like, Dad, why would you do that? I said, they think you're Justin Bleepin' Timberlake. What is wrong with you?
Milk that for all that it's worth.
Go with it, man. Jeez. I wish I would have looked like Justin Timberlake as a teenager.
Now that's a dad that is the ultimate wingman.
I'm there for you.
I'm helping you out.
I'm there for you. They don't have to know you're not Justin Timberlake. Matter of fact, they never need to know you're not Justin Timberlake.
They may never figure it out, and that's okay.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
That is good on you of playing into that.
Just trying to be a good dad, Tyler. That's all I'm trying to do. All right, greatest day in the history of the world, May 1st. Interesting. This is very interesting. Ready? In 2005, this 17-year-old soccer player named Lionel Messi scores his first senior league goal for FC Barcelona. 2005, 17 years old. Now we fast forward to 2019.
Yes.
Argentine forward Lionel Messi scores twice for his 600th goal for FC Barcelona.
Hold on, let me do the math here. 14 years, 600 goals. Let's see how many goals that is per year.
About a little bit over 15, a little bit over 15, right?
Let's see.
No. How many years?
14.
14 years at 600 is what, 40 goals?
42.85 goals.
It's not a bad life.
Not bad. Now he's, shopping at Publix in South Beach.
Him and Jameis. He's got the Jameis Winston special at Publix.
That was my favorite thing about him going to Inter Miami. And look, people know who he is. He's world renowned, but the rabidness of people with him in America is a night and day difference. Like, he couldn't leave his house in Europe without getting mobbed. And now, like, he can go to the grocery store and somebody like, hey, aren't you Lionel Messi? Yeah, can I get a picture? Ding. All right. Have a nice day.
Thanks, dude. Try the chicken. The chicken at Publix is phenomenal.
Like, he can actually live a normal life, somewhat normal life here.
And watching, look, I'm not a soccer guy at all, ever. But just seeing the highlights of how easy he just dominates here, and he's not even in his prime anymore. It's just wow.
And look, Major League MLS soccer is viewed as the minor leagues,
right?
And it cannot hold a candle to English Premier League or anything like that.
No.
So yes, he comes in here and dominates, even though he's on the back end of his career. And the funny thing is, they're selling out every arena that they go to.
And that's what matters.
And that's the thing.
That's what
they were in Kansas City taking on Sporting Kansas City a couple weeks ago. Mahomes was there. Travis Kelce was there.
It's
I'm sure
a thing.
Taylor Swift was there. And here's the thing. When he scores a goal, everybody cheers. It's not like, oh, no, he's on the other team, I want to cheer. No, everyone cheers.
Right.
Because you're watching Lionel Messi play.
And you can leave going, I saw Lionel Messi score a goal.
Exactly. That is something you will tell your grandchildren about.
And that's why you bring him here, even though he's not at his peak, it's an event.
Yes.
Watching Messi play, like when they brought Pele way back in the 70s for the New York Cosmos, it's an event.
Yes.
So, but think about that. He's, as a teenager on this day, he scored his first goal.
It's the equivalent if LeBron James, when he's done in the NBA, went and decided to go play in China for the last year of his career.
Yes.
And, his level of production's fallen off, but man, everybody wants to go see LeBron James because it's LeBron James.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. That's a perfect analogy for it. One of our superstars goes to another country, it's the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah, but Lionel Messi on this day scores his first goal as a 17-year-old and his 600th goal. Crazy. Bunch of Kentucky Derby stuff. Kentucky Derby winners on this day, 2021. Medina Spirit wins. 2010 Super Saver wins. Bob Baffert in 2021, that was his 7th win. A lot of people think Baffert. I mean, look, there's evidence out there. Allegedly, Baffert, he runs a dirty shop. He's not the only guy that pushes the limits in horse racing to do things that, a lot of people think are awful.
It's so funny. Not really funny, but like to a casual person, the Kentucky Derby is just a bunch of horses running around and people in fancy hats and stuff like that drinking mint juleps. But when you get down to the nitty-gritty and the dirty details of what the Kentucky Derby is and the links that some of these horse owners go to win, it's like, oh, my God.
Yeah, it's craziness. And the thing about the horse racing industry is like, and this is just how cyclical sports and life is. The first half of last century, baseball, boxing, horse racing, your big 3 sports in America.
Wonder why that is.
I don't know.
Surely it has nothing to do with wagering, right?
No, they don't. They didn't do that back then. That just started with FanDuel and DraftKings and BetMGM and BetESPN. Nobody ever wagered at all before any.
Well, that's what the NFL wants you to think.
Exactly. But I mean, horse racing was a thing.
Yeah, totally. You go down local track, put a couple bucks down on a horse.
And now it's like an afterthought. Oh, yeah, Kentucky Derby's tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Didn't know that. Or if somebody actually, before the Triple Crown finally was won again for the first time in forever.
Yeah.
That was the thing. If somebody won the first 2 legs, then the casual fan would go, okay, I'll watch
See if
Belmont.
they've seen them win 3 things.
Because I love history.
Yeah.
Now it's been done a couple times, so even that luster's gone.
Sure.
So horse racing is one of those things was wow for years.
Yeah.
And now it's like
it's funny to me. So NBC has the rights to Kentucky Derby, and they have their 5 hours of coverage. Extensive coverage. And I get it. There are multiple races, much like the Carolina Cup a couple weeks ago, but there's the one race that is the main event that everybody focuses on, that I guarantee you a vast majority of people tune in for that 4 minutes of however long that race is, and then that's it.
It's good they're gone.
And that's the extent of horse racing they're going to watch for the year.
And look, again, I'm from Baltimore.
Yeah.
They have one of the 3 jewels of the Triple Crown, the Preakness.
Yep.
I went as a late teens, early 20s, Terry Ford over and over, went to the infield, got a shirt, went to the Preakness, never saw a horse.
Bet you didn't.
Because you didn't. There was the running of the urinals. There was holding up signs that we can't repeat on the air.
It's day drinking with occasional thumping in the background.
You forget horses are there half the time.
Exactly.
So it's an event even in a place where there's history.
Right.
And that's really what the horse racing industry in a lot of ways has become. That's an event.
Right.
You're right. After it's over, people move forward, move on, whatever. And that's really the pull now. Is let's go to one of the Triple Crown events. Most people are there to drink, party, have fun, eat food.
I mean, I'd never been to a horse race until the Carolina Cup a couple weeks ago. There were no passionate horse racing fans from what I saw.
No.
They were there hanging out,
tailgaters,
drinking, and they all flocked to the gates as soon as, hey, the race is starting. All right, pick a horse. All right, I think number 3. All right, 3-1. Cool. Let's go back.
Let's go back and drink.
Yeah.
And well, you got barbecue? All right, great. And that's the reality of horse racing today. It's
pretty much.
And plus, we are a much more sensitive society about animals now than we used to be.
Sure.
And there's a part of that as well. Was you find out some of how things are made in the background, so to speak?
Hey, a horsey broke his leg. Horsey's not going to be racing anymore.
Horsey might not be around, period.
That's
anymore.
right.
So it's just interesting how, like, when I was a really little kid, horse racing, it wasn't the thing it was,
sure,
but it was still kind of sort of a thing.
Right.
And now it's not a thing at all.
Sure.
But the Triple Crown's coming. And then it won't be a thing again. All right. Greatest Day in History World, sponsored by 1-800-GOT-JUNK. We will come back. 803-404-6100. Firehouse sub text of the hour is next on the halftime show here on The Game. Right before we get to our Firehouse Subtext of the hour, real quick, our buddy Gamecock Larry's been hanging in here. He has something he wants to talk about May 11th. Larry, good hearing from you, my friend. What's happening?
Oh, what's going on? Well, I'll tell you what. They want me to say we're going to have a get-together on May the 11th out at my place. And they're saying they're going to give me early 90th birthday get-together on May the 11th. I know that's Mother's Day weekend and all that, but they got the Gamecock Larry's Drakes and Motocross team, the owners and sponsors of that team, who wants to give me an early get-together on May the 11th. And I want to invite everybody, Gamecock Larry's friends, family, everybody, 107.5, and I want to put a special invitation out to come on out, Root Hog. I want to invite you out, and I'll have one other thing to say. But Terry, you come out too, Terry.
I appreciate you, Larry.
They ain't busy. Come on out, okay?
All right.
Now, I want to say something, but I done forgot what I wanted to say.
Well, we appreciate the invite, Larry.
It was nice talking to you. Love all y'all.
I love you too, Larry. Have a good one. Happy early birthday, my friend.
It can't be. I mean, it's very early. Larry's like 38. He's not 90.
Yeah, he just wants to get prepared. That's all.
Good.
You go ahead. You're 38, but you're hoping to get to 90.
Larry's the man.
Right? Larry's 90.
I think last time Larry called me though, he was mad at me.
No, what'd you do?
I don't remember.
He's always mad at you.
I know.
I don't know a time Larry called you. He's not mad at you.
No, there's been a few times when he wasn't. Yeah, there's a few times when he wasn't.
Right.
Well, you're probably the one that gives his phone number to all of those Clemson fans that bother him all night, right?
Who would do that?
I know. Really?
Apparently a lot of people.
The first time I met Larry was at a pregame show. I don't know how many years ago now. He came over with his family to Gamecock Village over there. And it was like meeting like Santa Claus. I mean, I was so
it's a big deal.
I was so excited to finally meet him in person.
Yeah,
Genuinely happy to meet that man in person.
My first time is when we had the golf tournament at Charwood.
Yep.
And Rock is great. Rock has a banner.
It's like the Gamecock Larry Invitational.
Gamecock Larry Invitational. And so Larry came out, and I got a chance to meet him, and we hung out. We left. I said, Larry, got to get a picture of you by the banner that says Gamecock Larry Invitational. So we got a picture of Larry there. Larry's great. He hung out and yapped with us for a while. So Gamecock Larry, happy birthday, my friend. We'll all try to get out there, hang out with you, man.
Gamecock Larry is the only person in my career that I really will let use that kind of moniker.
Yeah, exactly.
We had a guy in Saluda who called himself Bulldog Bert one time. You'd like this, Tyler?
Okay.
This is years ago. I was like, Bert, how you doing? He goes, no, it's Bulldog Bert. And I was like, is that what your mama named you? And it was this awkward
See,
pause.
At my last station, every caller had a nickname. We had Anti-Nickelback Chad. We had
I already like that guy.
Yeah.
You know
what? He would be number 2 on my list.
He'd be number 2, Anti-Nickelback Chad.
Yes. You'd have to let him go. Yes.
We had Strap Dog. We had a bunch of characters. It was like the Howard Stern show.
Yeah.
Oh, Firehouse Subtext the hour. Go for it. 803-446-6100.
So to speak on how not as much loved horse racing is anymore, DJ goes, the Carolina Cup was a couple of weeks ago. News to him.
We were talking about how, like, when we were young, horse racing was still a thing.
Yeah.
And now it's just, the Kentucky Derby's here.
Because, twice in the 70s we had a Triple Crown winner.
And then, remember, the drama built for a long time because you didn't have one.
Right.
Then once you had one, it was like, okay, drama's gone.
Yeah. I don't know. There's so many things to pull people's attention. That's all.
I think that.
Have you been to the Kentucky Derby?
No, I just pretty sure.
Well, see, but you're from. But you've got in your hometown, you've got one of the big 3, which is pretty cool.
I never went to the Kentucky Derby or the Belmont.
Okay. I honestly.
Did you ever go?
Nah, and my wife wants to go, but I got to be honest with you, man. I get it, right? Like I'm not knocking it if that's what you want to do, but I'm like,
Hey, we all like funny hats and mint juleps.
Yeah, Well, here's the thing. I don't really like mint juleps.
Okay, then.
You know what? I've never had a mint julep. So I don't know.
And it's fine.
I'm okay with mint. I've never tasted a julep. What's a julep like?
I don't know. Look, a mint julep's what? Bourbon, mint, sugar,
something like that.
Mash it all together.
Never had one. I don't know.
It's like a mojito.
It looks cool in the glass.
Yeah. I mean, I just drank a lot of different kinds of liquor in the infield and then passed it.
Terry drank whatever was handed to him.
Exactly.
I told you guys before, there was a day back in the day, I forget exactly when for obvious reasons, that Brown Liquor and I got in a fight.
Brown Liquor won.
And the next day we called it a draw. Brown Liquor and I shook hands.
I fought the bottle and the bottle won.
Yeah, well, I'm like that with tequila.
We shook hands.
Tequila and I went round and round, and tequila beat me every time.
Yeah. So
I learned.
That's how I am.
Post-game show next, Jay and Elijah.
Got some baseball projections that are out.
Baseball projections are out. Fine job, Tyler. Appreciate you. We'll do this again tomorrow on the halftime show here on the Game.